What's up, guys? Tom here with Extreme Air Vents, episode 8, Hot Rod Sled Shop Clutch Kit Installation. Man, I'm excited for this. Just showed up. We'll go through it, let you know what's in there. We're going to go through the full clutch installation, Helix, jack shaft removal, primary clutch removal, taking the arms and switching the arms out. So stay tuned. I apologize. I really try to make these videos not super long, but they always turn out to be really long because I try to show all the details and every step you need to do. So if you're that guy that's like super mechanic, awesome, I don't need all this stuff, just fast forward through the parts you don't need. But anyways, we're going to show every step, how to do it, how to remove, and some tips and tricks that I have for clutch removal, Helix installation, etc. So let's get after it. Okay, so here we are, Hot Rod Sled Shop Clutch Kit. Got primary spring, secondary spring, new Helix, and of course the arms with multiple weight locations. This is for the turbo specific. If any of you guys watched any of my other videos, I had this on my 850 naturally aspirated, same kit, totally rocks. So. Okay, so maybe you're wondering, why Hot Rod Sled Shop Clutch Kit? I'm going to be honest with you. My best friend, I talk about him all the time in my videos, Mike Suter, Star Valley Skidoo. There's the logo, Star Valley Skidoo on that Helix. Hot Bronco with Hot Rod Sled Shop partnered up with Star Valley Skidoo to develop this clutch kit. It's been tested in the mountains, 7,000 to 10,000 feet, and they have it dialed in. So that's the reason I went with this kit. I believe it's a significant improvement over stock. The stock sled, the report, I haven't actually rode this yet, this specific sled in the mountains. The reports I'm getting back is the sleds are really good from the factory, other than the same issue they had last year when you get to RPM, falls flat. Yes, the factory sled is holding good RPM, 8,000 RPM. That's good, but it feels like you're hitting a wall. So you guys will notice when you hit it, you're getting RPM, it's really zippy and snappy, and that's good for a lot of people. But what you're wanting, what I want better, and what this clutch kit is offering, is it's offering more pull. What that means is it's loading the motor better so that it can keep pulling. You're not hitting that imaginary wall. You hit 8,000 RPMs and the sled just gets stuck there. And I don't know how to better to explain that, but it feels like you could go more or faster. It could pull harder, but it's just stuck at that RPM. Now, for a lot of guys, that's a good setup. Okay, so don't get me wrong. I don't think factory completely sucks, but for those guys that want that ability to adjust a little better and get the sled to pull significantly more, especially at the top, this is the clutch kit for you. I know it's been tested personally in the mountains by my buddy Mike Suter and Bronco. He came out for 2 weeks and they tested this thing every single day and got it dialed in last winter. So let's go for the installation. That's the background on why I picked this clutch kit. So let's get after it. Okay guys, in this video, I'm going to assume a couple of things, and that is that you have already purchased or already have the proper tools. So you're gonna need a breaker bar. You're never gonna use an impact wrench for these bolts. So a breaker bar or a nice long bar with a cheater on it. A primary clutch puller. And then, so the primary clutch bolt is a 13 16ths. And then a 3/4 inch for the puller. That's the size my puller uses, is a 3/4 inch. And then you're gonna need some type of clutch holder. Now this old clutch holder off of back in the Rev days, I've had for years, works just fine. Now if you really have to get after it, this isn't the best recommended tool, but it works fine. So if you have one of these from back in the old days, it'll work fine. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull the primary clutch off. I'm gonna pull the bolt out, put the puller in, pop the clutch off, then we'll go to the other side and we'll pull the secondary jack shaft out. I'll show you each step of that. So let's get going. Okay, then we're going to thread the puller in. On mine, 3/4 dry, 3/4 inch socket. That popped off really easy. You may have to take out this Torx bolt right here to pull the plastic away. Clutch is out. Okay, the next step to get this secondary clutch out, the entire jack shaft has to come out. You'll need to remove this right here, 13mm nut. And the easiest way to do it is one of these swivel head ratcheting box end wrenches. So it's 13mm swivel end. You can get it in there and kind of work it sideways. So we'll get that nut out and then we'll jump to the other side on the chain case. Okay, that's going to take that retainer out. So we'll put that nut back on there to set it aside. Okay, let's jump to the chain case. Okay, on the chain case side, we're going to remove this rubber cap right here to get to the bolt that holds the jack shaft. And then also we need to release the chain tension with this number 20 Torx. So we'll get that on there, we'll loosen it. You don't want to go all the way out, but we'll probably loosen it, I don't know, until it feels loose, I guess. Probably, 10 turns or something like that. And then we'll go ahead and get that cap popped out. Okay, one of the tricks to getting this little cap off, get a long pry bar. Just pop it out of there. Set that aside for now. And we'll, I think that's a 15mm. Okay, 15mm. We'll take this bolt out. Now this is the part where you definitely don't want to drop stuff. So just pay attention to what you're doing. So what you're going to do is you're going to set the park brake. And then loosen this bolt. If it doesn't loosen, because they do have a lot of pretty heavy duty Loctite on it. Okay, this one's breaking free. If not, you can hit it with an impact. You'll need Loctite when you put this bolt back in. Don't forget to release the park brake. Okay, you can see the Loctite on there. Make sure this big washer comes with it. You don't drop that down in there. Okay, so let me show you what's going on here. You've got your top tooth right here of your the top tooth of the chain case. So what you're going to be doing is you need a long punch. You're going to place it in there and you're going to punch the jack shaft out the other side. This punch is going to stay in and hold the top gear, and there's a bushing behind it. It's going to hold it in place. So as you start tapping it, you'll see that the jack shaft is going to move away from you, and you want to make sure you retain that bushing and also the chain, the gear on the top. You'll leave this punch in the hole, okay? I'll show you how to do that. Okay, you won't be able to see it in the video, but that jack shaft, so it just popped out. So you want to reach over here to the other side, make sure it doesn't bail onto the ground. So you're gonna hold this punch and then pull the jack shaft off of the punch, leave the punch right there. You do all that, you won't lose the gear or the bushing. And then You're gonna pull the jack shaft out the other side. Let's go get this taken apart. What's going on here? So you got that punch in there. You can see twisting it in there down at the bottom. It's all the way through, so it's holding that top gear and that bushing that's behind it. So when you, we'll show how to deal with that on reinstallation, but that's what you're looking at, okay? Okay, so now you got your clutch over here on the bench. You need to, very first thing you want to verify that you've got some way of knowing how everything aligns. So the fixed, the moving sheave, you've got the spider, and then the governor cup, not governor cup. I can't remember what they call that. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and put a little mark with a paint pen like that, so I can remember that this is the side that this goes on. So I've got the white line, blue, blue, blue. So when it goes back together, that's how it's gonna be lined up, okay? So with the clutch sitting in this position, you've got your puller about halfway threaded out. We're gonna give that a couple of whacks with a mallet. I'll show you how to hold it so that it separates the two halves. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna hold the clutch just like this. The puller needs to be about halfway out, and then you're gonna smack the puller to separate the two halves. That one was pretty tight. Now they're separated, you can see. So we can remove the puller. Two halves come apart. This one you can set aside, won't be using it. Okay, so here we are. We're gonna remove these bolts. It's a number 40 Torx. We'll zip them out. Babies have Loctite on them, so they're a little rough to get out. Okay, so now you see why we marked where that is gonna go in the future. So we can set that aside. Okay, so got this little spacer we take out, set aside. Now you're gonna need a Skidoo specific spring cup press. So I'll show you the one that I made. You'll need the piece that goes on here specifically from Skidoo to push this spring. I'll show you what it looks like. That's a part you have to have. You can't release that spring without it. Okay, so this is the spring press tool, absolutely mandatory. So essentially what you're gonna do is it fits on there, it'll press down, and then you can release this clip that's in there and then go back up. So I have a little homemade all thread rod, a couple nuts welded on the bottom. This is a piece off of a pressure reducing valve for water lines. I made a little handle nut. So we'll get the clutch on there, get that spun down, get the spring released. Okay, so this is my setup. We'll get that spring. Okay, I'm gonna zoom in here. You can see that it's pushed this spring cup down, and now we're just gonna get a tool and release that clip. So I'll get a pick and then you'll just loosen everything out. The spring will come with it. Let's do it. Okay, so I've got a flat blade screwdriver and a little hook. So I'm just the process is gonna be to try to get that separated. Hold it with the screwdriver. Get that spread apart. You see it popped up like that. And then you just push it around. Once it's released, now you can let your spring up. If you run out of threads, whew, barely. Got lucky on that one. There's that clip coming off, the spring cup, and the factory spring, okay? So we'll pull that out of the cup. We'll set this aside. Okay, from here, you can separate the rollers. It might be called the spider, but this is where your rollers are at. And then this is your arms. Again, these require a special tool to remove the arms. So you're gonna take out this bolt. It's a Torx. You're gonna take out each one, and then there's a tool that you put in there that presses you tap it out, that presses the pin out that holds this arm in place. Let's do that now. Okay, so it's a number 25 Torx. Okay, we're back here on the workbench. You need this arm pin puller or press thing. So it'll go in the side that you took the bolt out of. Okay, threads in there like that. Okay, you're gonna tap that and push the pin out. You can see that pushes that pin out. Okay, now you'll unthread it. The whole ramp, the clickers, everything pulls out. Okay, let's go ahead and put one in with the recommended magnets. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and set up this arm. So per the instructions, it'll be 2, these are the magnets. These things are so strong. 2 magnets in the first hole. So you kind of got to sneak up on them. Make sure that they're flat in there. Instructions say, let's see, 2 in the first, 1 in the second. Four in the third. And 4 in the tip. So basically this one and this one, this is the setup for 7 to 10,000 feet. These ones are loaded. So let's say we get up above 10,000 feet and it's not quite tacking. All you'll have to do is pull some out of the tip here. So let's get this reinstalled. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna set that arm in there, push the pin back through, and then from this side, you thread this, I keep calling it a puller, I think that's what and you're gonna tap or press that pin until it seats. You can actually hear it and feel it when it seats. Now that one's ready for the bolt to go back in. So we'll go ahead and do the other 2 and we'll speed it up and get to there. Okay, so now we're ready to put these bolts back in. I'm gonna go ahead and put some blue Loctite on each of these little bolts and tighten them up. I don't know the torque spec, but I do know that you don't want to get crazy with it. So just don't get crazy with it. A little blue Loctite on there. Bolts are in. Okay, so now we'll grab the new primary spring, make sure we have everything lined up, put it back together. Okay, so we're gonna start reassembling this thing. Mine had the blue dot and got the blue line right here. So that's, now what you wanna be really careful of is when you're setting these in there, you've got one roller, so you kind of got to do a lot at once. You got one roller on the outside, one roller on the inside of each one of these arms. So you'll set that down in there. And then you've got to lift the ramps up simultaneously. Okay, so this is what you're verifying here. Okay. You got the outside roller on the outside part, the inside roller on the inside part. On all of them, you got to make sure. So that's what you're looking for. Hopefully you can see that. So this is what you're looking for on these rollers. You want to make sure that the outside roller is on the outside part here, the inside roller is on the inside on all of your, so when you set that down in there, you want to make sure that that is lined up correctly, okay? Now we can get the spring installed. Okay, we're back to this point here. So we're going to take the new spring, which is a 163.50. That goes in. The spring cup, and you got to make sure this clips in there. Okay. Then the press tool. Now when this is going down in, you just want to try to get it, make sure that it's going in straight, lined up. If it's not going in smooth, something's binding up, just stop. Okay, I've taken that down past that, where that ring is, and I'll just spread that apart by hand and push it down over that groove. That's all it takes. And now we can release this spring. That's all there is to it. Now I'll get that top put back on, bolts tightened up. I'm gonna put blue Loctite on them also. Primary clutch is done. Okay, you see the line there? We're gonna line up this line. Now that'll press all back together when you put the primary bolt in and tighten things up, but that one's done. Okay, so on this secondary, these bolts are generally a beast to get out. So you're gonna wanna preheat them. It will help. Okay, so so I can start to feel the clutch is starting to get pretty warm to the touch. So again, number 40 Torx. So without the press on it, you just want to break them loose. Okay, all those broke loose. Now we got to get the press on. Okay, another critical tool, you got to have some way to press. This one I've had for a while. It's, I don't remember what brand, it's a little bit ghetto, but it works. So basically it just compresses inside the shaft. So we'll go ahead and put it in there. So this, let's just speed ahead to, it requires vice grips. So that's how awesome this one is. Okay, so on my puller, that expander plug or thing, whatever it is, it's in there. Like I said, this is a, I don't know, it's a ghetto puller, but it works for as many times as you pull or press these springs, you know, whatever. So you got to put some tension on there. Then you can go ahead and zip these out. Okay, I should also note it's a good idea to go ahead and mark how everything lines up. Put a little mark. It's white, you can't see it, but let's see, there we go. Put a little mark on there so you know how they line up. We'll go ahead and thread this Helix out. Spring and Helix coming out. Now, obviously, this is a brand new sled, but this is the best time to inspect your rollers. Okay. So just make sure they spin, they're not cracked or anything. We're gonna throw in the new 190-305. The thing I love about Hot Rod Sled Shop springs, they're H5 springs. So that's a really good spring. And then when you put these Helixes back in, you need to make sure that the ramp part, see if I can get, the ramp part is going where the roller is, okay? Otherwise it shifts like crap. Wait, stop right there. I just realized in editing that I forgot an important part. Before you put the Helix, the new Helix on, you have to pull out the little plastic bushing out of the stock Helix. Now, I've already replaced it in the other one. This is what it looks like. You put that in, the new Helix, before the spring. So, back to the video. I'm sorry I missed that part. I did have to go back in and do it the next day, but yeah, don't forget to pull that piece out right there and put it in before you put the spring in the new Helix. Peace out. Okay guys, I'm gonna give you a little tip, secret trick right here that I've been doing for years. When you're reinstalling the Helix, I do not put the factory bolts back in. I go down and get a 8mm by 25mm bolt. It's the exact same bolt, flange head, okay? Put these back in. That way, if you ever want to do anything with this Helix ever again, you'll have a nut on the back that you can get a box end wrench on, and you won't have to take the whole jack shaft out. I've been doing this for years, and the very first time you have to take it out so you can get these bolts out. Replace them with these. It will make your life so much easier. If you ever want to put the stock Helix back in or whatever, you do not have to remove the jack shaft. All you have to do is put the press tool in, press it in there, and then you can reach back in there with a ratcheting box end wrench and take the bolts out. Then you can remove the Helix, all while on the sled. So M8 by 25. I'll put a picture up so you can see what that is, and a link in the bottom, 25 millimeters long. Anyway, that's a little tip, trick, secret. Do it. I promise you, you'll thank yourself. Blue Loctite on these babies. Because these bolts do like to back out. Okay, now you have a 12 millimeter to tighten that up with. Helix is in, bolts are on. Now we can go start putting stuff back together. Okay, time to reinstall the primary clutch. It can really only go on one way since it's got a keyed shaft here. It's got a flat spot, so just get that clutch in there and then spin it till it hits that flat spot. There it is right there. Put the bolt in. Torque spec is 85 to 90 foot-pounds. I've got mine set at 85 to 92. I've got mine set at 90. So we'll go ahead and get this thing torqued down. Okay, there it is. 90 foot-pounds. Okay, so to reinstall the secondary jack shaft, you're gonna start it over here, and if you look through there and see where that, you kind of just wanna leave it sitting. You're gonna go around to the other side, we're gonna line up where that punch is into the shaft, and we're gonna feed it through. You're gonna stick your finger in there and catch that gear and the bushing that's behind it, and you're gonna feed it together in there. So let's go do it. Okay guys, this part really sucks if you screw it up, but I've got that jack shaft partially pushed through. So you wanna just make sure that this punch is into the jack shaft hole. Then we're gonna just start feeding it through there. You wanna make sure you do not lose that bushing back there. So we'll just keep working that jack shaft into this hole right here. Sometimes what you have to do is you have to take the punch out, get your finger in there and line it all up. So I think that's what we're gonna have to do here. You gotta be really careful. You don't wanna lose this stuff. Promise you don't want to. Yeah, that's what my problem is, so, okay. Okay, so what I had to do was lift the bushing up on the back side of the top gear, push the shaft through from the other side. Once it came through, then you just rotate the secondary shaft until the splines line up on the top gear. So now, you're gonna hold that top gear and you're gonna push that the rest of the way through. So I'll go ahead and get that pushed over. We'll tighten up this bolt. We're almost done. Okay, we're doing blue Loctite again on this retaining bolt. Make sure that that bearing is flush right here. Then you'll put your retainer back on and you're done, okay? Got the cap back on. The last thing you wanna not forget to do is tighten up that chain case tensioner and you're done. So we'll get her all buttoned up and we'll talk about it. Okay, so real quick, I'm just gonna show you. I put those flange head bolts in there. In the future, you ever wanna take that Helix out, all you have to do is put a ratcheting box end wrench on there and you can loosen them out. You'll reach your fingers back in there, pull the bolt out. You can do all four. You just keep spinning the clutch around and you don't have to take the whole jack shaft out. So Definitely a sweet little trick to make future work on this much easier. Anyway, peace out. Okay, so this wraps up the episode of the Hot Rod Sled Shop clutch kit. Definitely like and subscribe. I'll be doing the review on this on the snow. We'll be keeping track of how things are working, clutch temps, etc., belt life as we go throughout the season. So like and subscribe so you get those notifications when I do the follow-up review on this. But as you can see, the installation is very easy. You got to have some specialized tools. If you own one of these sleds, you should have them anyway. In the future, you're going to want to have this clutch off, clean it, etc. So buy the tools, have them so if you ever need them, you have them, and then you can do the work yourself. So anyways, not a difficult process. Definitely recommend Hot Rod Sled Shop. Look them up online or call Bronco. But you can order right off his website, get the clutch kit, and you won't go wrong. So thanks again. Like and subscribe. Let's keep this going. Later, bye.